Hello and welcome to the Powerfish Podcast. I'm Fish.
And I'm Ben. Today, we're going to talk about free will. We have talked about this a handful of times, almost debating it the first time. But we're going to get into some real nitty-gritty details on free will, determinism, and a third option called compatibilism, which tries to reconcile the two. And you're going to leave this video knowing everything you need to know about if you have free will or if you are a meat robot.
It's an all-encompassing guide.
All-encompassing guide. You're going to learn all you need to learn about it here today. And we're also going to play a game at the end, Family Feud style.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to try to guess some Google searches.
I'll tell you how it goes when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there at the end. But you got to know what free will is first. Don't
you know? So you can play along at home.
That's right. So you can play along at home. So the first time we actually brought this up, first time.
Astounding start.
Yeah, this is good. The first time we brought this up was, I think we went down a top 10 philosophical questions website or some crap. And one of the questions was, do you have free will?
Did we? I don't remember that at all.
I'm pretty sure it was. This is the first time we brought it up. And you and I disagreed. Well, I don't know if that's true. But what you were on the side of was free will. And we, right. I believe I don't know if it was an argument, but I steelmanned the determined position. But before we start throwing words around here, let's get our terminology down. Let's get our definitions down. So free will, what we're going to define free will as is what's so-called libertarian free will. It has nothing to do with the political libertarian. It's called libertarian free will. That is the ability to make decisions that are not wholly determined by external circumstances, past experiences, biology, or genetics. You are able to make decisions completely independent of all those factors. Right? Another way of putting it is you could have chosen different, all else being equal. If you make a decision, rewind the clock, get to that decision again, you could choose a different decision, all other factors being equal. So that's libertarian free will. It's usually associated with something like a soul or a spirit or a self that's doing the decision making, because there kind of has to be if you're making decisions completely independent of external circumstances, past experiences, biology, or genetics. If one of those factors is not going to factor into your decision, something else has to, which would be a soul or something like that. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Libertarian free will is basically that. It also is not compatible with determinism. So it kind of self-explanatory there, and also not compatible with the B theory of time. So this is the free will that I think most people sort of just assume that we have, because that's what it feels like.
Right. So if I'm not mistaken, this is also encompassing a distinction that there are genetic factors at play.
Yeah. So it's not, it recognizes that life experience, genetics, hormones, mood, and external circumstances are factors, influences, but a decision is not wholly made by those factors. Those factors don't make up the whole of a decision. A decision, at the end is ultimately the you inside making the decision.
I feel like whenever we had that conversation about free will, that was probably the viewpoint I was representing.
Yes. You basically put it that way, that obviously these other factors make an influence on the decision. But you said when it really comes down to it, I am the one making the decision. is how you I believe, if I remember correctly, put it.
I don't remember exactly what I was representing, but that seems like something I'd say.
Seems like
I'm pretty
yeah.
smart.
So reasons why you might believe this or would want to believe this perspective is like if you're in between deciding a job or like a big move or something, some decision like that. When you're deciding that, it genuinely feels like the future is open. It genuinely feels like you can choose one or the other. It doesn't feel like you're locked down to one or the other. The feeling that we feel that we have really does feel like the future is open and we could choose otherwise. We could choose one or the other. But so it's very counterintuitive to think that it could be anything else.
Right.
Because the feeling of free will is so strong. And this definitely is on the side of giving responsibility to people and especially moral responsibility for people's actions. If something is if something is completely determined from start to finish, then saying somebody is responsible for something means nothing if that was an inevitable consequence.
Right. You hear that a lot from the pro free will community. That's a pretty common thing you hear. It's if what do they say? Something to do with there is no moral responsibility. Yeah,
right.
If somebody goes out and murders 25 people, it's just like they were going to do that anyway.
Yeah, that was inevitable. Yeah, they have no choice, so it's not their fault, which obviously sounds really bad, which is them fighting for free will. Right.
There was this is completely unrelated to the topic of free will. Actually, no, it is adjacently related, but it's more related to the topic of murdering people.
Oh, good.
So there was it was a debate. Well, no, it was somebody representing a debate. It was an atheist talking, and they were talking about how the common Christian argument of without God, you're just going to run rampant through the streets and murder everybody you see. Basically,
I hear that a lot.
And the guy said, and this is such a brilliant way to put this, such a brilliant shutdown of that argument. He just said, they said, no, I murder exactly the amount of people that I want to, which is 0. So
yeah,
it's just like it's not that God is determining that I don't do that. It's just that I don't want to do that anyway.
Yeah, that is a common thing that I hear. People often say, man, without God, I'd be out in the streets. I'd be drug addict. I'd be having sex with whoever I want. I'd be doing whatever I want. And it's like, I don't think that you would. Well, I don't really think that you would.
And also, if you did, that says way more about them.
Oh my God. Yeah. Then that just means you're not doing all these things just to get your ticket to heaven.
Yeah.
That's not much better. They don't really think through what they're actually saying when they say that. Yet so many people say that. It's very concerning. They need to think about the things that they say, but they don't.
I think that's true universally.
Yeah, that's not just a religious thing. People don't think about the things that they say, including me.
I was just about to say, especially us.
Yeah, especially us. So some arguments for libertarian free will would be that determinism isn't necessarily proven, right? The future is almost as a matter of fact open because of quantum uncertainty. Granted, the indeterminacy at the quantum level, the effect that has on something like physics is extremely, extremely, extremely minor, but it is something undetermined. So determinism, hard determinism, or otherwise known as super determinism, probably isn't true, which has to not be for libertarian free will to be a thing. But subjective conscious deliberation appears to be irreducible to something like neurons and stuff. Basically the argument from consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousness is one of those weird things of like what's going on there. And that that whole what's going on there situation can be an argument for free will. I've also heard like it's not magic, like it's so in physics, quantum fields are like the deepest, most fundamental part of reality as far as we know, is from quantum field theory. Those are completely immaterial, but it makes sense. It's not magic. We have a well understood framework around them. In that same way, a person or soul can be fundamental to like being a human.
Right.
Sort of like as a background that everything is built off of.
Well, I mean, at that point, you're just getting down to fundamental natures that we just don't understand yet.
Right, exactly.
Now, could you understand consciousness or understand the soul? I mean, that's
an open question. Consciousness, maybe. Who knows? Like the level of understanding we have of consciousness seems to be just so vastly low, because not only are totally opposing opposite theories of consciousness, like something like panpsychism on one side and consciousness being emergent from the brain on another side, not only do those both seem potentially equally possible, but they are literally polar opposites in direction on consciousness theory. Right. So that just shows how little we actually understand about it, which can be a background for maybe there's free will somewhere in there. And that's entirely possible. Also, why would we have evolved an ability like conscious deliberation if it did not have some sort of function? You know, that's another open question.
Is the function? Ooh, how do you want to put that? Is the function of the illusion of free will, I don't know, the advancement of society? Is it the
some sort of social reason?
Some sort of social, or I want to say like egotistical drive. I don't know, just like a kind of like a self-motivated from the self. This is a me thing arising from. Am I making any sense?
Perhaps one thing that could do is help your chances with reproducing. And if you obviously, that's the whole basis of evolution. If you're the one that reproduces more, then there's going to be more of people like you. And so maybe the person that was able to consciously deliberate like that just happened to reproduce more, 2 million years ago, and here we are.
Who knows?
Again, it's an open question.
Yeah.
Free will, maybe it's in there somewhere. And lastly, the last one I've heard in terms of arguments for libertarian free will, I wrote this one down because I hadn't actually heard of this until recently, and I didn't know it too well. But someone said, free will could be an emergent phenomenon in the same way wetness emerges from atoms, H2O, right? So if denying free will because atoms obey laws is like denying water because atoms aren't wet, which is kind of intriguing. So they're saying like free will could be an emergent property in the same way you have one atom and it's not wet, but if you get two hydrogen atoms and an oxygen atom, H2O, now it's wet. It's an emergent property. Jeezums. I don't know if you could hear that on the mics, but someone just absolutely did a crazy burnout.
Yeah.
That was pretty wild. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, emergence. Free will could be somehow emergent from the brain just by the complexity of atoms flying around up there. In the same way, wetness is an emergent property of...
I feel like that intuitively makes sense. I guess it could make sense.
It's saying emergence is kind of like a smokescreen, because what does emergence really mean?
Emerge from what in this?
Right, yeah. When you say it emerges, it just sounds like you're putting in a word in place of something we don't really understand.
Well, I think what it does conclude is that it wouldn't be in this framework a foundational property.
Right, yeah.
That's what, and
that argument is kind of countering the one that perhaps in the same way quantum fields are foundational to everything we see, all matter, a self or soul could be foundational to being what it is to be human.
I think it's the difference between, is the mind built on the foundation of consciousness, or does the mind produce consciousness? Or or some sort of illusion of, that's kind of a weird way to put that, but some sort of...
You mean the mind as...
I guess I'm using the mind as in the basic connections and the basic instincts that we're talking about, like,
Okay.
or the what did you just list? The genetics and experience.
Oh,
and
genetics experiments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Experiments.
Yeah.
Experience.
And so something in the process of the mind emerges something like an illusion of consciousness, even though it's in a lot of ways it just becomes reality. It's not much of an illusion, but it's not
right.
But the distinction being, it's not fundamental to the mind, as in the mind is built on top of the idea of consciousness, which would be more akin to a soul, I would say.
Right. That sounds like it to me.
Yeah.
And somehow free will can emerge alongside that. All possible. But I would say most people they wouldn't realize it, but would probably describe themselves as libertarian free will advocates. They would believe in that. So let's get into what's called incompatibilism, or determinism, or just the view that there is no free will. Because you often will hear, are you a determinist, as a proxy for, do you believe in no free will? But you can believe there is no free will and also not be a determinist. They're not mutually exclusive views.
Right.
You can't really, well, I was going to say you can't really be the other way around, as in a determinist, but believe there is free will. But we'll actually get to that. There is a view of that. So, but first, there is no free will. So this is defined as whether the future is determined or not, you don't have free will. Our actions, our decisions, the deliberation we do in our heads is the inevitable consequence of past experiences, external stimulus, genetics, everything that has built you as you. An inevitable consequence. That's what a decision is. Moral responsibility under this view is something that just simply can't be justified.
Mm-hmm.
You can't give someone moral blame or praise if there's no free will, if they simply really could not have done otherwise. If you were in their shoes by means of having their genetics and growing up as them, you would just simply be them and have done the exact same thing as them. Mm-hmm. Therefore, moral responsibility is something that is just simply can't be justified under this view, which a lot of people really would not like. If you say, like, a dude that just shot up a school,
yeah,
you can't assign moral blame to him. That doesn't sound good. And it even almost sounds worse when you say this guy that went from rags to riches through hard work and dedication. Also, you can't ascribe him, praise, because that's just what he was that's what he was always going to do with his genetics and experience. That sounds pretty bad too.
Right.
You look deeply confused.
I don't know. I guess I'm just harpening back to the idea of, okay, so somebody's predisposed to do a certain thing or live a certain kind of life. Could they just reject that? Under this viewpoint, no.
Because their rejection would just be another consequence of how they were raised.
See, this is the thing. I think we talked about this in the original argument, and I think I had a little bit of problem with this because it seemed as though the argument devolved into a sort of, well, I would say, well, what if they decide to do something else? Oh, well, that's what they were just going to do that anyway.
Right.
And you kind of chase your tail around a little bit, go in circles, and it's just like, well, they would have done that anyway. Well,
right.
They had no other option to do other than what they just did.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's like, well, or
that is the view. Yeah.
Or they're choosing to do something, and they did.
Yeah, they did. So yeah, no, you're exactly right. That this, I'll get into some arguments for in a little bit, but the way we were talking about it like a freaking year ago or whatever the heck it was, was basically that. And that was the best I could give you.
Yeah.
I don't know what my view was on free will at that time. It probably was more on the no free will side than your view was. But basically that was my entire argument was, I think we brought up the example of you going to get Taco Bell or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, if you go and get Taco Bell right now, I would just say, well, that's what you're always going to do anyway. Right. And it's easy for me to say that because we can't go back and check if you could have done otherwise.
Yeah.
So, but that's not a very convincing argument.
Right.
So, but we'll get into some more convincing arguments and as to why I believe I am of the view that there is no free will, but we'll get into those. So yeah, moral responsibility is something that can't be justified. But though that may be a bad thing, it could also be a good thing. So blame and resentment towards people being unjustified, it's true, but understanding that there is no free will, it also can help empathize with people. Mm-hmm. Knowing that if I grew up as this person with their genetics, I simply would have done that same annoying thing.
I'm gonna bring up a very controversial subject here, so just everybody just lock in. All right. So pedophilia. This is this is one of those things that people talk about. It's one of those things where a person, more or less, regardless of this, also not that these are anyway at all related topics, but homosexuality is another one where some people have issues with homosexuality. Well, let's use pedophilia. Let's get it off the table. Homosexuality. Some people have issues with homosexuality.
Yeah,
and they're wrong. But anyway, so
yeah.
Enough
said.
But the thing, one of the rebuttals to those kind of people is these people can't choose who and what they're attracted to. That's not a choice. They could choose to repress those feelings, but that doesn't make the feelings any less there. Right. That attraction is pretty based to their own experience.
If the people that are accusing gays as being immoral agents for being gay would have the self-awareness to identify their own attraction as something they didn't choose and realize that it's the same thing with somebody that's gay, then they would realize that fact.
Well, that's why I brought up pedophilia first, because that's where the conversation gets very interesting.
Then it gets rough because pedophilia is the same way.
It is the exact same argument, but it becomes hella unacceptable.
Right.
Pretty immediately. And then, but the same argument stands, in theory. What do we do about this? What do we do with these people? Because they can't control the attraction.
Right. It is in the same way as everybody else's sexuality, just as not up to them. But here's the difference. They're attracted to people that if they act on these impulses, they will be causing trauma.
Yeah, no, there's
harm.
There's no world where you're. This is the tricky part, because somebody could easily take this whole idea of this is a fundamental base level attraction. You can't change it. This is just who I am, and they could try to spin it into and therefore there's nothing wrong with it. But that doesn't work.
Follow. It doesn't follow.
It doesn't work. But what you can do, and I remember having a conversation with somebody about this, because we won't name drop, but you and I know somebody who went to prison for this very specific topic,
right?
And I was having a conversation with somebody about that very person, and I said, it's unfortunate because that these people can't control what they feel. And I almost wish there was more of a support system, not to let it slide,
not supporting their actions,
not support, but a way for people who have this issue to be able to come forward and to be able to talk to people and to get help without fear of judgment. That was the conversation I had, and it's a very difficult sell to a lot of people. A lot of people.
Oh,
a lot of people are just like, well, just hang him.
Well, you know why? It's because the default is libertarian free will, which turns these people into moral monsters.
Right.
And that doesn't have to be the case. So that brings me right into one of the other great things about believing there is no free will is if we do not waste time giving people moral responsibility for things, then that means punishment would make no sense. You can't punish people for things that they have no control over. And we can spend more energy and more money and dollars on rehabilitation and prevention rather than incarceration, largely making things worse for the people that are incarcerated.
Yeah.
So if we stop recognizing criminals as criminals, having the free will and committing crimes on their own just free volition because they have awful souls, we can stop wasting time making things probably worse with punishment.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we brought this up in a previous episode before too. Norway has and I can't name the number specifically, but truly an astronomical amount less crime than us. But they don't have prisons. Their prisons are a room with a TV, a couch, and a kitchen, and you can go do actual sports and activities, not just, you can't free roam, right? Because then you're not in prison. But these people aren't punished. They aren't punished. There was a guy in Norway, I can't remember the context, but he gunned down 69 teenagers.
Wow, that's a person.
Yes. He killed 69 teenagers. Okay? And when he was on trial, he was given, basically by default, the maximum Norway sentence, which is 21 years.
That's it.
Right.
Really? That's not a lot.
No.
Okay.
Well, when the alternative is for life, which is what we got here, or in certain states, death, 21 years doesn't seem like much of anything. But that is their maximum in Norway. This guy, when he was released, this is another thing, is you might think that the family members of these 69 teenagers would be appalled to hear that he was only locked up in a rehabilitation center, pretty much, with a kitchen and TV for 21 years.
Yeah.
For a monstrous act. You might think that the families of these people would just be appalled by that. But no. In Norway, the whole, they have a whole different view of criminals there. They take pride in their ability to view the humanity even in people that commit atrocious acts. And the families of these people have gone on record, I'm pretty sure, from this very incident, saying, if he is deemed as not harmful to anybody around him after these 21 years, then all the better that he's not locked up making things worse, all the better that we made a good from a bad rather than keeping him in there for life. Like,
yeah, there is a thing in America where even if somebody appears to have, after served their sentence or close to serving their, we got parole, we got that in our justice system, and it's a thing that you see where people who appear to have changed are coming up on parole, and then the families of the victims are adamant that they get denied. That's one of those things, and that is very backwards from what you're talking about in
Norway. Yeah, the whole sentiment in Norway is 180 from what we have here. And I would say it's for the better, because when it comes to crime rate, we are head over heels, just backflipping. Okay. Way more crime here than there. So, right. I don't think, I mean, we've talked about this before. Our system of incarceration is just so bad. It's just so bad. It doesn't make things better. Generally makes things worse. There are so many people that are incarcerated, and we spend an unbelievable amount of money of keeping these people in these prisons just for nothing to get better. Like, it's awful. Nobody, I don't think, would disagree that we could do better when it comes to crime. But it is harder to do that when everybody is under the impression that these people could have had the free will to do otherwise.
Right.
So
the devil got a hold of them.
Yeah, right. Devil got a hold of them. So I have a few arguments in favor of us not having any free will written down here. And I'll tell you, these are the reasons that I don't believe we have free will, and they are pretty hard to get around, but we'll get to them. So one of them, sight, sound, and touch, right? So these all take different amounts of time to reach you. So if, for example, we see things at the speed of light, right? And we hear things at the speed of sound, and we touch things at the speed of how fast signals can get to our brain. And the speed it takes to get from touching something or hearing something or seeing something into your brain are different.
Yeah.
They all enter your brain at different speeds. But we perceive them to be simultaneous most of the time.
Well, I'd imagine it's probably pretty quick, all things considered.
Well, it's quick, yes, but it's not unnoticeable.
Oh, so this is one of them brain tricks.
Exactly. The brain, by about anywhere from 40 to 100 milliseconds, it lines the senses up, and then it's given to conscious awareness.
That's weird. It's crazy. The brain is crazy.
Brain crazy. So already, what we perceive as our conscious awareness is about 40 to 100 milliseconds, is what our brain took about 40 to 100 milliseconds to synchronize and then feed to our conscious awareness. Because if it didn't, sight, sound, and touch would be unsynchronized. Not by a lot, but they would be.
Yeah.
So already, it's one sort of knockdown of the domino for conscious awareness probably doesn't do anything in regards to decision making, because your conscious awareness is already a bit late. The brain be doing stuff. So there's that. And there's also some experiments that were done by a scientist named Benjamin Libet. So he did some experiments that indicated that the brain blasts neurons that result in pushing a button up to about 500 milliseconds before the subject reported consciously making the decision to press said button. 500 milliseconds. They had an ECG. What's the brain thing?
Is it EKG?
EKG?
Doesn't
Or is
sound
it
right.
MRI? Is MRI brain
What is
scan?
EKG versus ECG?
ECG is electrocardiogram. I don't think that's right. That's like heart rate stuff, ain't it?
Well, an MRI is your brain.
Okay, I might be thinking MRI.
It's also a CAT scan, but I don't actually know what that is. What does it do? What does it photograph here? Look at this photograph. Every time I do it makes me laugh. So I think CAT scan can be just about anything.
Oh,
I think like X-ray kind of cross section X-ray stuff. Yeah,
some kind of cross section X-ray stuff.
that's what it said.
Okay.
I don't know what to
Well,
tell you.
I'm probably thinking MRI. Basically, the brain was shooting neurons to press this damn button before the conscious awareness, well, self-reported conscious decision to press the button. Okay. So that is pretty damning, but also self-reported kind of muddies things. People can self-report all kinds of mistakes and problems and inconsistencies. So it's something, but it's honestly not that heavy of evidence. So another view of this is we are made up of particles and atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, right? All these things we know how they work. All atoms and matter, it follows mathematical equations that we understand very well. At the quantum level, sometimes those mathematical equations aren't deterministic, they're probabilistic, but they still follow them, right? Based on something being more probable and another thing being less probable. To what it would mean for free will to exist is for you to be able to somehow alter or interrupt the process of neurons firing. It would have to alter particles in your brain following these mathematical laws that we understand. We follow the laws of physics just like everything else does, and there's no reason to believe that we can somehow transcend it.
Right.
So that it would have to be something metaphysical for us to have free will. So I wrote quite a bit down on narrowing that down quite a bit. So when you make an action, that happened because of a neuron that fired in the preceding second from that action. In the seconds to minutes before that neuron fired, those neurons were activated by a thought, a memory, an emotion, or a sensory stimulus. Sure. In the hours to days before, hormones shaped those thoughts, memories, emotions, and altered how sensitive your brain was to any certain given stimulus. In the preceding months to years, your environment shaped how those neurons function, causing some to create new connections and others to be more excitable, and the opposite in others. In the preceding years to decades, your brain's shape was formed by your childhood and upbringing, and before that, you've got your genetics, your baseline. There's no reason to believe any of that was interrupted by a sort of a me. There's no room for me, right?
Sure, yeah.
So let's say you got a dildo. It's there.
Where is it?
Right there.
Okay.
You got a dildo. You flick a dildo that's in front of you.
Okay.
You flick it. That little finger flick.
Yep.
Okay. That flick was caused by a neuron that was in a particularly excited state, and it was stimulated by a neuron just upstream. And that neuron was stimulated by another neuron just upstream of it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Find the neuron that started this process without any cause at all, and without any other stimulation of any other upstream neuron. Then show that this neuron was not influenced by if the person was hungry or stressed or tired or in pain. And nothing about this neuron could be altered by sight, sound, smells, or any other sensory input, nor by the level of his hormones in the previous days, or whether by if he had a life-changing event in the previous months or years. And you get where this is going.
Yeah.
That is what it would mean for libertarian free will to exist. An uncaused neuron. A neuron that was caused by nothing. By a metaphysical you. A neuron that had no other upstream neuron that followed it. Preceded it, rather. So, now, some people would say this is where quantum mechanics comes in. And at the level of quantum mechanics, it is possible for quantum stuff to take place in your brain. But let's say this uncaused cause neuron was a quantum neuron. That's not going to happen, but let's just say that that's going to happen. It would be random. Quantum uncertainty is inherently random. So that certainly would not be free will. But back to this uncaused cause of a neuron. If you were to believe that kind of free will exists, libertarian free will, you're not going to find this uncaused neuron. It doesn't exist.
Right.
At that point, you're pointing to magic. And if you are to believe that an uncaused cause can happen, let's put this in a more recently formal state of a previous episode. You would have to believe that something unactualized can become actual on its own.
Right.
And we know very well that cannot happen.
Unless it's purely actual.
Unless it is itself pure actuality. And we know that this neuron, this uncaused neuron, this unactualized actual neuron is not God. Because that is what it would mean for something to be purely actual.
But is it consciousness fundamental?
But is consciousness fundamental? Well,
we talked. I'm bring that up because we talked about that at one point. The idea of a fundamental consciousness,
right,
which would create room for some sort of free will in the chain of events. Theoretically, maybe
it would still have to sort of make up its own neuron.
Well, the problem is that it couldn't insert itself into the chain of events. It would have to be in and of itself fundamental. So it couldn't enter the stream.
Yeah, well, yeah. If consciousness is fundamental, it would mean that consciousness is a part of matter. Matter and consciousness would be almost one and the same.
Right.
And that would still not be able to interrupt this chain somewhere in the middle. That still wouldn't happen.
It's true.
Because it would still just be matter. Even though it would be conscious matter.
Yeah, so no, that wouldn't there still is a chain of events that have to take place, and those chain of events are determined in a way.
Right. They are determined. So honestly, that one of like the neuroscience angle, that's kind of like nail in the coffin of there's no way libertarian free will exists. There's just no way. Because that uncaused cause is what it would mean for you to be able to interrupt this chain of neuron causation and make a different decision in one scenario, all else being equal, being able to make one decision or another. That's what it would mean, and that's just not happening. That's not possible.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Like we said in the beginning, I mean, it's very compelling to say something like free will exists. And I don't know. I do feel like somebody smarter than me could probably make a pretty compelling case. I don't know on what grounds, but I feel as though there's a case to be had somewhere in there. But as far as scientifically,
well, we went through some of the cases at
Yeah.
the beginning, and honestly, a lot of the cases are arguments from consciousness being such a mystery.
but you can't. We get into this problem with inserting God where God doesn't belong. You know, it's the idea of just because you don't know what something is or how something works doesn't mean we can definitively say something should or should not be there.
Right.
And I think that's true of consciousness. If you can't just if it doesn't make sense, you can't just say that it absolutely abides by these certain laws and these certain passages of physics.
Right.
You know, when it comes to completing actions.
Right. Yeah. What we do have evidence for is that consciousness cannot and does not have any bearing on matter.
Yeah.
And we are 100% matter. So, yeah, so far the evidence points against it, but it being such a huge mystery, obviously the door can't be completely shut on libertarian free will. So that's the big one, is the neuroscience view. But there are just a couple of more. If one of them is the view from meditation, if you meditate or pay just very, very, very close, focused attention to your own thoughts, you can identify that your thoughts just kind of pop up.
Yeah.
They don't like think of the names of two cities and then tell them to me.
It's funny.
This is crazy.
It's what?
I was, you looked like you couldn't think of one.
Well, I thought of two pretty quickly, and then I was just like, those are dumb cities to say. I don't want to say those two cities. And then I was like, no, those were the first two.
Exactly. That's the thing. Where did those thoughts come from?
So
where were those thoughts before you thought of them?
Well, I can actually tell you exactly. So let me tell you. So the two cities were Pittsburgh and Philadelphia.
Okay.
Which
that's
where both of those are. They're in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, those are both.
So, and the reason I thought of those is because recently I saw
you're on the P's.
Yeah. Well, recently I saw a YouTube short of a clip from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where I've never seen the show, but it's the guy that always says the crazy things, and he was just like, what did he say? He was talking to his buddies at the bar, and he was just like, you know what's always crazy to me? That Pittsburgh is in Pennsylvania. And he was just like, yeah, because they live in Philadelphia. And then he was just like, yeah, no, that's a thing. He was just like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense because, like, I'm in Philadelphia right now. And then they were like, well, no, but Pittsburgh is also in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And he's just like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And they just go on for a while. He's just like, no, I'm in Pennsylvania. And they said, right. And he said, but if I were to be in Pittsburgh, I would also be in Pennsylvania. And they're like, yeah,
you're in both.
And he's just like, that doesn't make sense.
In the same way that I am in Illinois, but I'm also in the United States.
Exactly.
Right.
But yeah, that's why I thought of those specific two cities.
But anyway, hey, that's a perfect example of not having free will. Is the neurons those fired because of the recent states that you were in the previous minutes to hours.
Yeah.
Those two cities came because of previous stimuli, and they came out of nowhere. You didn't think of what thought to think of, right? Yeah. So if you just pay close attention to your own thoughts, you can tell that you have zero control of the thoughts that come into your head. Just because I'm right now stringing a sentence together and can coherently think a full sentence or a string of things that make sense, every single one of those is just simply arising from God knows where, from nowhere.
Yeah.
So if you just pay close attention to yourself, you yourself can tell that you don't have free will just by looking at it. And of course, there is finally, we talked about this a lot, the fact that the B theory of time is probably more likely than the A theory.
Yeah.
So, and that one is certainly not compatible with libertarian
That one
free
pretty
will.
much shuts it down.
Yeah. B theory of time. A theory looks to be almost very unlikely. B theory, if you take a view from relativity, is almost assumed because of time being a fourth dimension. And it's just not applying equal existence and credence to past, present, future seems to be what the laws of physics are, and it's just not compatible with libertarian free will.
Right.
So all of those, when you put all of those together, it's just like, how can libertarian free will exist?
Right.
Like, even if you just say disprove one of them or two of them, like the arguments and the evidence that we don't have libertarian free will is just piling on top.
Right.
So that is why I am of the view that we don't have free will. But you got another option. We've got what's called compatibilism. Determinism and free will are compatible. That's an interesting. Just how do you think that the compatibilist view reconciles free will with determinism?
Say that sentence you said before again. The summary of what.
So compatibilists believe that free will is compatible with determinism.
Okay, so that's how you get that.
Compatibilist.
Well,
yeah,
so
compatibilism.
I would assume if I'm assuming something here, and you know what they say about assuming. So I kind of tried my best to make an argument for this when it comes to religion. We had a little mini debate on religion one time, and I was talking about how something. Well, but this doesn't work without a deity, does it?
Right.
That's the thing. It kind of hinges on that a little bit.
It hinges. I'll summarize this. We kind of did almost a full episode on this. So the B theory of time in isolation is not compatible with free will. Right. But if you add a deity into the mix, the B theory of time becomes the only way that you can have free will. So the way that makes sense is, so we're in a B theory of time, and the omniscient deity, because it's a B theory of time, can see the whole timeline, can see past, present, future, right? Because B theory, all of it is equal in existence. So that's how the deity has omniscience. But the way we have free will is the deity, they also have to be omnipotent, but if you're thinking of a divine entity, they're probably going to be. So the way that we get free will is the divine God plays out our actions, plays out our free will, right? Kind of like a tape. He starts the universe, our free will plays out, and then he just views it.
Right.
So the way that doesn't at first face value make that much sense, but the way I described it was, let's say you're a normal person in the world and free will exists because this deity exists. So, because as the arguments against free will just stated, it's really, really hard for free will to exist unless you can invoke some divine stuff. So free will exists because this divine entity exists. But if you were to get right up next to the event horizon of a black hole and watch the universe around you scream by, and let's say you capture all of that information and then just jump into a time machine and go back in time, you are seeing the results of what happened play out, and you know what's going to happen, but they're still playing out their free will.
Right.
So that's That's how we made free will and B theory of time compatible, but there has to be a deity involved. That's the only way that's the only way it worked. So is that how you would think compatibilism?
That's what my mind went to, but I don't know how to put that into a context that doesn't involve that.
You don't know how to get compatibilism without a deity.
Right.
All right. So okay.
I assume I'm about to.
Yeah, you're about to. So compatibilism, free will and determinism are compatible. So you have free will insofar as you make decisions out of your own desires or reasoning. So it maintains people holding responsibility for their actions, like praise and blame. You don't need a literal... So compatibilists redefine free will, the word.
Okay.
What they say as free will is if the decision came from you, as in your blob of matter.
Oh, so this is just a non-solution.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, compatibilism is a non-solution. So it's just redefining free will to mean, yes, we're determined. Yes, we are biological meat robots. Yes, we don't have libertarian free will. But if you make a decision that came from you and you weren't held at gunpoint to do it, then that's free will.
Well, I mean, that is consistent with the average feeling.
Right. It maintains that. But
how is that different from libertarian free will?
Because this is not relying on metaphysical soul, and it acknowledges that you could not have done otherwise, all things being equal.
Okay, so basically the difference is libertarian free will is arguing for true free will.
Yeah, true freedom of the will, yes.
And compatibilism is saying determinism is free will, almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's saying that, well, let's say if you receive a brain implant that forces you to ferociously masturbate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Give me some
versus if you if you reflect on your own values, your own reasoning, and then ferociously masturbate.
Okay.
One of those came from you, and one of them came from a brain implant.
Right.
Both can be true, and right, like, so even though, let's say you reflect on your own values and deliberate and then make the decision to ferociously masturbate, all of that can be compatible with you not having free will, and you were always going to do that, anyway. But that is a different thing than if you had a brain implant that forced you to ferociously masturbate.
Yeah.
So equal outcomes, but one is free will under compatibilism and one is not. So that's what they kind of mean. So as long as it's another example, more less masturbatey. If you were to like eat a bowl of cereal, right? If you just woke up in the morning, got a box, poured it in the milk, grabbed your spoon and ate it.
Yeah.
Versus if someone held a gun to your head and said, get the box.
You better eat your cereal,
You better eat your cereal. Yeah. And then you ate it. Let's say that the process is exactly the same. You could still say that one of those was your free will and one of them was not.
Yeah, I can get behind that. That
Right.
That linguistically makes a lot of sense.
Right. So that's how compatibilism sees it, is if the decision came from you, as in your own experiences and neurons and genetics and stuff, that is free will.
It's almost like not an argument for free will. It's an argument to establish accountability in determinism.
Yes. But here's the problem. We just discussed some of the upsides of seeing in people that they do not have the freedom of will to do otherwise.
Yeah.
And not punishing them because of it.
Yeah.
compatibilism maintains that, the bad of punishing people, ascribing blame and stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it also recognizes that if they themselves had their genetics and had their upbringing, then they also would have been the exact same. So it takes the bad side of that.
It almost is.
It keeps the morals and responsibility, the bad side of moral responsibility, but doesn't get the good things from libertarian free will.
I was just going to say it's almost the worst of both worlds. Because like I said, you're punishing people who otherwise can't help themselves. And this framework recognizes that.
Right.
But it's also in a theory you could in a way you could say that you then now have room to celebrate achievements of people, but that's undercut by the reality of it being not true free will.
Right. So but there is something to say for, so I hear this sometimes from compatibilists. They think that people, if they realize they don't have free will, then they will so-called run amok.
Right.
And I will say, there actually is evidence somewhat that is true.
Mm-hmm.
When people find out that they don't have free will, sometimes they do act a little bit less kind towards people, donate to charity a little bit less, and so on. But more evidence, also not very much of it though, this isn't exactly a very studied thing, as far as I'm aware, shows that people that have accepted there is no free will and sort of internalized it and understand it, sort of go back in the opposite direction. They become more empathetic to other people and they don't run amok, as you would say.
Yeah.
So, but I think compatibilism is sort of spawned out of fear of the consequences of spreading the idea that there is no free will. And they just want to maintain it by redefining the word.
I would argue that that's not entirely helpful.
I agree.
It's helpful potentially from like a social standpoint, but scientifically, philosophically, it's
just, it doesn't get anybody anywhere.
Right.
But that we also sort of colloquially use language as if we do have free will, though.
Well, if it, you know what they say about that?
It's,
you know what they say about that? If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Kind of. I think I know what you're talking about.
Except in the sense that it's not a duck, it's a fake duck, but might as well be a real duck.
Right. So
did you follow any of that?
I kind of don't think I know what you're talking about.
Have you heard that phrase?
Walks like a duck, talks like a duck, probably a duck?
Yeah. It's a duck. Well, what I'm saying there is,
if it looks like free will,
you might
as well call it free will.
Might as well call it free will, even if it's not actually.
Right.
That's compatibilism.
I was going to say, that's a great definition of compatibilism. If it walks like a free will, if it talks like a free will, you might as well call it a free will. Yeah. So I'm not a compatibilist. It just seems to take the worst of both worlds. And you don't get much out of it other than sort of getting to live under the illusion that you get free will.
Well, what I don't like about it, I think, like I kind of just said, on a social level, maybe. But
maybe,
well, I say social level, aside from all the other social issues that we just talked about.
Sorry to cut you off. On that social level point, let's say this evidence is something that we can hold. People that newly sort of don't believe in free will slightly run a little bit amok, but people that have sort of internalized it are a little bit more charitable. Yeah. Sometimes we have to climb down a high a little bit in order to get to a higher high.
Yeah.
And I think that's worth it.
I would say
If the higher high is something like Norway, I think climbing
we found
down,
the peak.
we found the peak. Everybody moved to Norway so that you can have good prisons. Yeah. No, but yeah, I think that is worth it.
I would agree. Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of the idea of a revolution in a lot of ways.
Right. Sometimes you have to give up comfort, take a little hardship to be able to climb up higher than you previously were before. As a society, I think that's a good thing to do.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm an incompatibilist. I don't believe there's free will. I'm not a determinist. I don't believe the future is 100%. Excuse me. I don't think the future is 100% determined. I think it's like 99% of the way there, but
you're just on the grounds of free will versus determinism. You're just a little agnostic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm a little agnostic. Yeah, no, I fully don't believe we have free will. I think the evidence is just quite overwhelming. And
it seems to be stacking.
Yeah.
From
not even just from multiple point of views. You've got the point of view of physics, that we are matter and we know what matter does. You've got the point of view from neuroscience of we know how neurons work and they have a chain of causation that would have to be broken. You've got the point of view from metaphysics of the B theory of time being most likely the more accurate view of time. And then of course you've got the view of just paying close attention to your own thoughts. There are 4 different pretty conclusive sort of angles, all pointing that we don't have free will. Just is hard to really get around. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, get in the comments, y'all listening. Get in the comments and let us know. Because I imagine if the comment section, if there were to be one, is representative of society, there will be people that will push back on this. So
absolutely,
we
welcome the pushback.
Yeah, I am very interested in the counter arguments, for sure.
Right. So let's get into this game, this feud.
Welcome to Free Will Feud.
Welcome to Free Will Food.
Welcome to the Free Will Feud. Okay. So let me tell you how this is going to work. Anybody at home watching this, if you've seen the game show Family Feud, this is that. Welcome to that. More specifically, actually, this is closely related to Google Feud, which is like a web spinoff of that very show. If you've seen the show, you'll know that Steve Harvey has a very nice mustache. You've never seen the show, I imagine.
I have seen Steve Harvey. In his mustache.
He's got a wonderful mustache and dapper suits. I will add. Have you seen him in his mini suits?
No.
It's not like Jordan Peterson kind of suits. They are pretty like tame, but he's just a dapper gentleman. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
I do like Jordan Peterson suits. Jordan Peterson be wearing some loud freaking suits.
Yeah. But we're gonna play this. So the way this game is gonna work is we have got some partial questions. So I am going to ask you in 3 rounds, I'm going to ask you part of a question related to the topic of free will. And it'll be your job to complete the question, in this case, a search query, to earn points. The more popular that query is, the more points you'll gain. Each round will have 8 queries.
Okay.
And so if you get the topmost searched answer, you get 8 points as an example. And if it's the least most, it's 1 point.
So 1 to 8 and escalating as search query goes more popular.
And you can guess, whatever one that comes up, and then you'll get the points. Now, then you might be asking yourself, well, when does this end, right?
When do I get out of here?
When do I get out of here?
When do I win?
And the time is you'll have 3 strikes per round.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is I'm going to ask you the partial question and you're going to start guessing. If you guess something that is not on that list of 8, you get a strike. Okay. 3 strikes and you are out for the round.
Okay.
Move on to the next round. What that does for you is that doesn't negatively impact your points, but it stops you from being able to earn more points in that round.
Okay.
So let me ask you this here. We're going to do that for 3 rounds. Let me ask you this. instead of setting a line for you, a point line for you to get to, I want to ask you what you think you can do.
And
as far as points go.
And there's 24 points to get total.
No, there are 1 through 8 across 3 rounds.
Oh,
so there's a total of 108 points on the table.
Okay, so I can get an 8 and then a 1 and get 9 for the round. It's not
or you can get an 8 and a 7 and a 6 and a 5 and 4 and a 3 and a 2 and a 1.
So the 108 points.
So 108 points total. That is a perfect game. So there's your max is 108. That's your ceiling. Your floor is 0.
Oh God!
I want you to set yourself a competitive line, and we'll see what you can do about it.
I'm gonna say I should be able to clear 70.
Okay, that's about where my mind went to. So
I should be able to clear 70.
Okay, 70's.
That's a little over half of the points.
Well, because half is 54.
So it's a decent bit over half.
So
it's nearing 3/4.
I would say this is probably a pretty aggressive line. Now, what's in your favor, and I'll give you a warning on this, is that the topic of free will is a bit narrow. So, as opposed to just anything in the world. So there are going to be some questions that are going to be similar. So some answers that you're going to be guessing that are similar to others. So I might help you a little bit. Like if there's one that's similar and you already got that one, and I got to like help you get to one. Might do a little bit of that just because, you'll get into a point where you just won't be able to guess it.
Okay.
But for the most part, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So again, 3 rounds. This is the first round. Here is your partial question that you're going to be finishing the search query on. It is simply, can free will blank?
Oh, can free will? Who's asking can free will? Can free will...
People, I'll tell you.
Oh, people. Can free will exist, perhaps? Can free will...
I'm going to wait for you to give me a final answer before I give you any hints at anything.
Can free will... What? I'm struggling to think of anything other than exist. Can free... And there's 8.
There's 8 of them.
Can free will... Exist? One of them. Final answer. Exist.
Okay, exist. So that is number 5 from the bottom. So that's about middle of the list here.
Okay, so I got 5. Can free will exist? Okay, can free will... You put a space after will, right? There's no can free willy.
There's no willies.
Okay.
No willies. No willies whatsoever.
Okay, just making sure. Can free will... God, what? Who is asking? Who's starting the sentence with can?
And I will also say, they do this on Family Feud as well. If it's like close enough,
okay,
I'll give you some grace.
Can free will exist?
I'll give you. Do you? Okay, let me know.
Wait. Can free will be determined? Can free will be determined? I'll do that one.
Determined in what sense? Let me clarify on this. What do you mean? Like
determined? Period. I don't
like
that was the end of the sentence. Can free will be?
Do you mean determined? Like yes or no, or deterministic?
Can free will be deterministic?
Okay, I'm going to give you that. Can free will exist in a deterministic universe? I'm going to give you that. That was
okay.
That was.
I was thinking of can free will. I was trying to get at compatibilism.
Yeah. So that's
basically.
Okay. So that's
can free will.
That's second from the bottom. That's I guess number 6. I guess or 7.
Second from the bottom.
Yeah. So it's 7.
Okay.
2 points. I'm okay. The way I'm saying this is really confusing. You got 2 points.
Okay. I was thinking.
I'm gonna go. I was trying to go by distance from the top, but I'm just gonna give you the point values.
So okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I confused myself. So you got 2 points. You got
number 2.
You're 7 for the round.
Okay. Can free will
and no strikes?
God, dude, it was so tough for you to think of that one. Can free will...
I do have. I won't just give it to you without your consent. Hey, you take that out of context. I will say if you would like a hint, kind of, I can give you one.
I don't want a hint.
Okay. Let me know when you consent to my giving of that.
Can free will... Okay, I'm lost. I need the hint.
Okay. So you already guessed, can free will exist?
Yeah, or be deterministic.
There are... Okay, so you did free will can exist. 1, 2, 4 more answers start with, can free will exist? And then more words. 4 remaining start that way.
Can free will exist? Oh, God. 4? How are people... Can free will exist? Can free will exist in our universe? Final answer?
I gotta give you a straight one. The closest was in a deterministic universe, but
right.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that's basically that.
So yeah, 1 strike for the round.
Can free will exist? Oh, can free will exist without God?
Right on the money. That was the top answer. That you got 8 points.
Yes, dude.
That's top
Yes.
answer. Free will exist without God.
Heck yes. Okay. Can free will exist?
1 strike. You're at 15 points for the round in the game.
I'm gonna need more than that. If I'm going for 70, I'm gonna need more than that. Because I would need.
I'm gonna put that in there. 70.
I would need about 24 a round. Can free will... Okay, so we got can free will be? Can free will exist? Can free will... What other 2 words could possibly come after that? Can free will be? Can free will exist? Can free will... No, can free will be moral? I guess. Final answer?
No.
Frick!
No. Can't
No, I need one more. At least. Can free will...
I feel like you're circling it, honestly. Not just with what the track you're on now, but just in general in the last couple minutes.
Can free will... God damn it.
I've got one more very small hint if you would like it.
Okay.
And I feel okay about giving it to you.
Very small.
There are some questions for any of these rounds that you say one thing and then also on the list is the opposite of that thing. This thing is this thing is not this thing, as an example.
Can free will know free will?
Exactly. So yeah, there are
Okay.
opposites.
Can free will...
And at any point, if you want me to read what you've gotten, I can do that.
What have I gotten?
Okay. So I'm going to go top to bottom as far as the popular. So can free will exist without God? Can free will exist? And can free will exist in a deterministic universe?
Can free will be real?
I think I'm going to give it to you. It's can free will be proven?
Okay.
I think I might give that to you. That's
a stretch. That's okay. I'll take that. What's number is that?
That was 6 points.
Okay. So I've got 6, 7, 8. That's good.
You've got 5, 6, 8.
5, 6, 8. I've got 6, 8, 5, 6. Oh, so I can still get 7. Can free will be proven? How did I not think of that? Gosh, that's obvious. I only have 1 strike left. Can free will? Oh, I'm gonna be so pissed if I don't. Can free will?
You're really struggling.
Dude, this is hard. This is really hard. Can is a rough one. Can free will... I've said it about 100 times, and I'm waiting for something to just arise from the brain that I don't have control over the thoughts.
As it currently stands, so you have 4 remaining for this round. There's at least 1 or 2 of them you're going to feel like a doo-doo head.
Can free will...
I will say there are a couple that are a bit tough. A bit tough.
God, dude. Can Can free will exist? Can free will exist without religion? Final answer.
Without religion.
Yeah.
I can't give that to
Frick.
you. Okay. Here, I'm gonna give you what you missed. I'll give you in reverse order. So we're going least popular to most popular. Okay. Here's what you missed. You got, this was the top most answer that you did get was exist without God.
Yeah.
The least popular answer was exist with God. That was the opposite.
What?
I told you that was the opposite.
Oh my God.
Next one up. Can free will exist with an all-knowing God?
Oh, okay.
Next one up. Can free will be taken away?
Oh, how did I not get with an all-knowing God? We've talked about the omnipotence thing or omniscience thing. Oh, yeah. Dude, what was the third one?
Can free will be taken away? From like a religious standpoint or something. I don't know.
Okay.
That was a crazy one. And then this one would have been tough. Can free will and fate coexist?
Oh, no, I think I should have got that because predestination in the Bible is everywhere. Fate. Maybe I probably wouldn't have said fate.
What did you say that you would have indicated that you would have gotten that?
No, I said I probably should have gotten that.
Oh, I thought you meant you said something that I should have counted.
No, heck no.
Okay.
I said nothing related to that.
So you ended with 21 points on the round.
That's scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Okay. Next one.
We gotta more than that.
We gotta get through these. All right, next one here. Let's move away from can, should we?
Yes, we can.
Is free will blank?
Is free will real?
Show Liz. That's 6 points.
Okay. Is free will...
I will say, this is not a hint. It might turn into a hint later, but because it might necessitate it. There are specifically two answers that are very similar to other answers in this round. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
The broad
bridge.
Is free will compatible with determinism? Is free will compatible with determinism? How is that? You fools. What? How could you not search that?
There's no shot I can give that to you.
Oh man, dude. Is free will... That's a rough one. Frick.
It's a strike pretty early.
That's an early strike after one correct. My gosh. Is free will compatible, etc. Has to be something. Has to be. But does it? Free will. Is free will real? Is free will... That was number 6?
Real was number 6, yep.
So I got 7 and 8. What are you people searching if free will is compatible with determinism?
Wait, what are you doing?
Is free will compatible with science? Wait, is free will... There's something here. There's gotta be.
Okay.
Free will...
Okay.
Is free will compatible with science?
Goodness, that's not compatible with science. I'll tell you what.
That was unscientific if I've ever heard anything in my life.
I don't think I can.
How is people not searching that?
That's not. I can't do it.
2 strikes.
You're up to a rough
That's
start.
so bad. That's so bad. Is free will? How can I only get is free will real? Is free will in the... I'm so scared to say that. Is free will in the Bible? Is free will... Is free will biblical?
Yep. That is... Well, not yet. Or is it? No, it's not. But yes, 4.
What the hell did you just say there?
I was trying to answer the question, is free will biblical? And I said yes, but it's, as in you answered, you got it right. But then, Is it really though?
Is free will a biblical concept? What number?
4.
4. That's not what I need. I mean, I'll take it, but
Again, some of these answers are similar to others.
is free will compatible with fate? No.
I can't.
Frick, dude.
That
What a
was-
dump.
That was 10 points on the round. You're at 31 points total.
Oh my god. I need to clean sweep the next round.
Is it even possible then?
How many points are well, there's 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 1 2 plus 1 plus 3.
That actually might be possible. Oh, I don't know if it
Well,
is.
what is 8 plus 7 6 5 4 3 2 1?
67.
Oh god.
But I will. Let me do this, not just to keep the game alive.
Short.
It's honestly fair. This is fair. You guessed is free will real?
Yeah.
Here was another one of them. Is free will legit?
What?
So I'm gonna give
legit.
I'm gonna give you that one. I'm gonna give you that one.
It's free. What? Who is typing these in? 13-year-olds?
I don't know. So I'm gonna give you that one.
Legit.
So that puts you at 36 for the game.
That was
so
6?
far. That was
5.
That was number 5.
That was 5.
So that puts you.
Okay, so I almost have to clean
You
sweep.
have to almost clean sweep this.
I'm
I'm gonna give you that one because it's honestly fair. Okay, so here's the ones you didn't get from the bottom up. Is free will a gift from God? This one's funny. Is free will one word?
What?
So, this one's interesting. Is free will really free?
Okay.
Yep. Is free will an illusion?
Oh my god!
Which
How did I not get that?
You didn't do that one.
How did I not get that? Oh, you buffoon!
I think you probably didn't get it because it was in the last one. I'm pretty sure, or was it? No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Still, what a buffoon monkey!
Oh no, that was can be
I'm a
proven. Okay.
Booga booga.
Right. So
Monkey
okay.
brain.
And then this is hilarious. Is free will in the Bible? That was your top answer. You circled that 20 times.
How, dude? Oh my god! I literally said biblical. I literally said in the Bible first, then switched it to biblical.
Yeah. So you are at
That's insane.
You are at 36 points for the game. You're 15 points for the round, 36 points for the game. You need, what is that?
Everything except 1 and 2.
Was that 24? No, that's not more than that. Or is it?
What was the clean sweep?
Like the whole game?
No, a round. What was a clean sweep round?
Hold
You
on.
just had it up.
It's 36.
36, and I have 35.
You have 36.
Oh, so okay,
Across 2 rounds, you have 1 round's perfect.
which is bad.
So you need 70 minus. You need 34 points.
So I can miss a 2 or a 1. I can miss number 1 or I can miss number 2, but
Yeah.
nothing else.
And not both.
But not both. Oh my god. Okay, so I have to wreck this one.
Okay. And it's got to seem a little familiar. The last one was is free will. This one is why is free will.
Why is free will? Okay, so this is assuming a lot here. Why is free will an illusion?
That is
Final answer.
That is number 7.
Okay. Illusion had to be in there.
Yeah.
No way. Why is free will in the Bible? Why is free will biblical? Oh my god, stance. Who's Googling that? Why is free will legit? Why is free will an illusion? What does that even mean? Why is free will an illusion? Are they asking why it feels like? Is that someone that just discovered that we probably don't have free will and then wondering why it feels like we do?
Why?
Yeah, why do we feel like we do? I guess that makes sense as a question. Why is free will? I have to get 6 more. And it can't
It's a tough game.
dude, this is insane. Man, I thought I set myself a reasonable bar. Why is free will a lie? That sounds like something. I'm angry. Free will doesn't exist. Why is it a lie? It's all a big lie.
Remember who's searching. You know, if you hadn't remembered already,
I'm trying to do that.
try to think. Just your average Joe hops on their computer or bashes it into their phone and says, "Right back to free will." What do they want to know?
What does the average Joe want to know about free will? Why is free will? You're right. Not everyone's a philosophical dude. Not everyone's going to be, why is free will incompatible with determinism?
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to be like that. Why is free will? But what the heck? What is an off the street free willer searching about free will?
Willy.
Thinking about what is that? What is an off the street free willy doing on the Google? Why is free will? This is a hard game. Why is free will
I
fake? Oh, that sounds like something.
I feel like I'm going to continue my thought. I feel like it is hard, but you are making it more complicated.
There's a lot that I should have gotten. Why is free will? What if I'm not even concerned with if free will even exists or not? What if I'm just like, I don't know anything about philosophy, or I don't know anything about science and physics? What am I asking about free will? Why is free will real? Why is free will real? Final answer.
Let me consult the board here.
Legit. Maybe I should have said legit. Why is free will legit? Why is free will real? So clearly it's not a just bolt face.
There's one that I feel like I could give you. And you said, what did you say?
Why is free will real?
I'm going to give you this. This is a stretch.
Okay.
But what it is why is free will not an illusion? Which is kind of what you said, a little bit. I'm going to give it to you. That's 4 points.
So we've got why is free will an illusion and why is free will not an illusion?
I told you there are opposites. I told you that.
Jesus.
But why is free will real is in the same vein, I would say.
What number is that?
That was 4. That was 4 points.
Okay. That's one that I need. I need all except 1 or 2, but not both. Oh, man. Why is free will in the Bible? Or, yeah. Why is free will in the Bible? Damn it.
No. That's not a bad line of thinking, but that's not it. That's not close enough.
Why is free will in the universe? Wait. That's stupid.
Good catch there. Never mind. That was dumb.
Well, I think is free will legit dumb?
That's why I gave you that one. That one was kind of stupid. And it was very similar to is free will real? So
yeah. Why is free will? Dude, I'm so bad at this damn game. Why is free will?
Just think like I already said it, but you're just
think like an average Joe. I know
you're just the dumbest person ever, and you're just stupid and on your computer and stupid while you're doing it, and you want to know just some basic stuff about something you heard about somewhere, and you're like, what about that?
What about that? Why is free will? I'm dumb. I'm dumb. Why is free will? Why can I not think of anything about dumb? I heard this thing about free will. I have an IQ no more than 10. Google search. Why is free will God damn it. This is bad news because I need 5 more. 6, 4, 6, 5. Right?
Yeah, you need 5.
And the one that I am allowed not to get has to be either 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Why is free will fake? Final answer.
Can't give it to you.
Dude.
That's just on the lines of an illusion.
Yeah, I know.
But that, yeah, I guess like there are some repeats and some opposites, but that was not one of them. This comes from Google. Google is worldwide, obviously, but favors local, more closer to local search results. As in domestically.
Why is free will in the United States?
No. Where I'm going with this is there's a lot of people that believe very, very specific kinds of things in this country. And a lot of those people might not be looking up something along the lines of why is it fake? Because demographics.
You've just sent me down somewhere that makes no damn sense.
Can I you want me to simplify that thought for you?
What?
Most of the people that are being represented in these search queries are Christian.
Yeah, I assumed.
Yeah. So what might a non-philosophically trained Christian search about free will?
Is free will a gift from God? Or no, that was one.
That was one. We already did that.
But we're not on is free will. We're on why is free will. Why is free will a gift from God?
Final answer?
Final answer.
Let's consult the board.
God. There has to be one. That has to be. Why is free will a gift from God?
I don't think I can give that to you.
Bro, God damn.
And that's your third strike. Let's go up the
Oh
list.
my God.
All right.
What a flop.
That was 11 points. You ended the game at 47 out of 70.
Out of
108.
Out of 108,
but out of 70 on your line. So here was bottom up on that
God.
round. That was a rough showing. Why is free will bad? Is the bottom. Why is free will important in Christianity?
Oh, okay.
This one's a little disjointed. Why is free will debate? I would have taken why is free will a debate or something like that. Why is free will a debate?
Oh, like okay, why is free will debated?
So we had bad.
Got that.
We had bad. Why is free will good?
Oh,
It's super simple.
dude, I could have got so many of these.
Yep. Why is free will important to God? And then top answer is just simply, why is free will important?
Important. I don't know if I would have got that one. I definitely could have gotten. Oh, dude, that's so rough. What a loser. That's crazy. I could have gotten so many of those.
That's a tough game.
That is a tough freaking game, dude.
It doesn't help that the subject matter is so directed.
Yeah.
I think given some refinement and maybe given a bit more of an expansive topic, I want to revisit this game because I think that was kind of fun.
That was fun. Yeah. That was bad, but that was fun. Yeah. There's so much potential to be gained. I could have gotten so many more. But yeah, that was fun. We are going to leave it there. Recommend some games to us if you like seeing these games, because they're pretty fun to do. And the Feud one, honestly, is pretty easy, and that's really fun. So let us know what your view on free will is. If you think we have no free will, but maybe we should sort of assume or be under the influence that we do for the sake of society, if it's a good or bad thing for society to assume that we don't have free will. I'm curious as to those sort of opinions, because a lot of people get this. I think like over 90 or like over 85% of philosophers are compatibilists. Very almost no one that thinks about this kind of stuff is a libertarian free will dude.
Yeah.
Unless they are Christian. That is the one exception. And even then, a lot of Christians aren't. So libertarian free will, I think, is kind of a dying breed.
Yeah.
But so many philosophers are compatibilists, which was surprising to me, because I just can't get on the really bandwagon of compatibilism.
Seems like more of a social thing than a scientific thing.
Right. It just seems like a cope.
Yeah. A cope harder.
Yeah, a cope. But I'm open to being convinced otherwise. So let us know what you think about that. Let us know what you want to see in the future, because we'll talk about just about anything. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
See ya.